board Aditya Welekar, who's a senior research analyst now, metals and power. Access Securities is joining us to weigh in on the issue. Hi, Aditya. Thank you so much for joining us. Good afternoon to you. Aditya, now that the tariffs have been increased to a 50% on steel and aluminium, now India is not a major exporter of steel and aluminium to the US. So there's no major impact as such on Indian listed companies. But how is it likely to impact the global prices of steel and aluminium?
Yeah, good afternoon. So definitely means this move will put pressure on the global steel and aluminum prices as this will increase the supply from the major steel and aluminum exporting countries to US. So that supply will now flow to ex-US market and that has to be absorbed outside US. So that will increase the competitive pressure on whatever exports we are doing to of steel and aluminum. So naturally, this flows because steel and aluminum both being commodities. The supply of these commodities, if it increases globally, then the global prices will come under pressure. And with the backdrop that Chinese steel exports have continuously been increasing, and in the first 4 months of this calendar year, Chinese steel exports have increased by 8% to 38 million tons. So the context to this is that we have seen weakening domestic demand in China, and their exports have been continuously increasing. And in that context, domestically, we have a safeguard duty. The government of India introduced safeguard duty of 12% to protect the dumping from Chinese steel. But with this additional tariff of 25% by US, the global steel prices will further come under stress. So we have to watch out whether whatever the import parity which we are now trading at. So currently on the HRC prices, the landed cost of Chinese steel prices is at a 4% discount to domestic steel prices. So if the further Chinese prices go down further because of this move, then it will put further pressure on domestic steel mills. So they will not be able to take hikes from this level.
Hi Aditya, good afternoon. This is Shrishti, and thank you so much for that clarity of thought where you are saying that yes, because of the safeguard duty, we were just seeing the prices stabilizing. But with this announcement, there is indeed a risk of an oversupply. But Aditya, how should investor place their bets? Help us understand that which pockets can still offer an opportunity for the investors. The reason I'm asking is, Aditya, a lot of these PSUs rather are domestically focused, but a lot of these private companies, case in point being Tata's, Hindalco, they are exposed internationally. How will this tariff announcement impact their business, and vis-a-vis, where do you believe that investors can find some confidence, or rather they have a margin of safety with domestic versus export players?
Yeah, so see, I mean, directly Indian steel mills, they are not exporting significant quantum of steel to US directly. So the direct impact of the increase in tariffs from US is not felt by any of the steel players. But as I just described, there is an indirect impact through the global supply glut and the global steel and aluminum prices coming down. So that impact will be across the board for if you want to quantify the direct impact, so the direct impact will be felt to some extent on Hindalco because it has a US-based subsidiary called Novalis, and they import their aluminum mills from Canada. And Canada being the largest supplier of aluminum to US, so there will be some impact. And in the previous conference call, the management has pointed out a $40 million impact because of these tariffs. Before that, they were able to negotiate with the governments and able to get a one-time subsidy or one-time exemption for these tariffs. So this entire tariff announcement and the subsequent impact is still under process, and we have to see, wait and watch how further the Hindalco's management guides. But in the Q4 phone call, they have clearly said that a $40 million impact will be there. And with this additional tariff increase, the impact could increase. But we have to see whether they get any exemptions. Coming to the broader question of valuations, post this announcement of safeguard duty, we have seen that the steel stock prices have rallied. from their lows, and most of the steel stock players are now trading at one standard deviation above their long-term averages. So there is a slight worry about margin of safety with respect to steel stocks valuation, and we think that we go with a wait and watch approach towards this, and the current entry level is not very attractive if we take into consideration the margin of safety. But if you think from a long-term perspective, the people who are already invested in the metal stocks, they should stay invested, because this news flow and the noise around the tariffs and the negotiations with respect to tariffs, that will continue. And within that process, all these steel companies and all non-ferrous companies like Hindalco and Nalco, they all are going for a expansion plans, and these expansion plans will start to benefit these companies from FY 27-28 onwards, depending upon the individual companies. And the existing investors can stay long. The question is only with respect to fresh entries, and with respect to that, the margin of safety is not very lucrative at this point of time because of these headwinds. So we recommend a buy on dip strategy with respect to that, and
Yeah.
uh, any any dip if we get,
Should be.
that will be a buying opportunity
All
for all
right.
these players.
All right, Aditya, thank you so much for all your thoughts and helping us understand that what this news flow really means for the sector when it comes to the steel and aluminium plays. But with this, viewers, let's move.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.